Count money, man. Stack riches. Try and told him I'm a beast, bud.
What's up, gang? Welcome back to another episode of the GRINDcast. Get ready. It's a new day. And I wanted to start out with saying, is consistency the thing that's stopping you? Is consistency, is your ability not the issue? Is it just your ability to be consistent? That's the issue. Because there was a quote from The Rock that said, success isn't always about greatness. It's about consistency. Consistency and hard work leads to success. Greatness will come after that. That's The Rock. And so I think what we need to do is just do an audit of how has your level of consistency been with the process, not even necessarily with the results, because I'm so confident that if you're not lying to yourself and you're actually being consistent in doing the work that leads to the result consistently, I know the results come. So the results are going to show. But how consistent have you been in the process, let's say over the last 90 days, of the things that in your key metrics in whatever your business is? Whether you're in the business of professionally trying to punch and choke somebody else as a fighter, or a professional coach or a teacher or an athlete or whatever it is, what are your measurable outcomes that you want that you could tie into the process and ask yourself, over the last 90 days, how would I rank myself on a daily and weekly basis to my commitment to the process on a scale of 1 to 10? But you can't use 7. So, like on a 7 days a week in a month, how many of those days are you committed to the process? Because you could still be committed to the process even if you're somebody that says, well, Sunday for work, I'm not doing much work on Sunday. I'm just giving time to my family. I'm going to church, whatever it is. There's still the ability to get better in the process, whether it's I got to bed on time, I got up early, I ate the right foods, I invested proper focus and time into my family, I went to church, I got up early just so I can have an hour of self-development where I poured into myself and overlooked my schedule coming up for the week. And I made sure my meeting for Monday was on point and planned out with fire. So I planned all that before our day got started. And so there's a way to get better every day and to stay committed to the process every day. If your measurable is, let me ask you, if I were to ask you what your goal was, what percentage of the people that do what you do obtain that goal? So if it's win a world title, that's probably less than 1% of people. So what percentage of people typically obtain whatever goal you have in your mind that you're going after? And then you have to adjust the work accordingly, or you have to adjust your goal. I think when people get bitter is when the work that they're willing to do does not equal out to what they want. There's nothing, I saw something, I forget who said it, but there's nothing worse than a lazy, ambitious person. So like somebody that wants it all, they think big, they want it, they want big, they want greatness, but they don't want to put in the work. Those are the people that start hating on other people, finding reasons why they're successful and you're not, and blaming it on things that they're doing that they shouldn't do, or cheating or whatever it is, when you're not willing to pay the price, or you get bitter and negative towards whatever is going on. And so I think you got to measure up and say, what work am I willing to do? And so if what your goal is 1% of the world or 1% of the people in your industry does, then you got to be willing to do what 99% of people aren't willing to do. If you could, don't make the goal that big if you don't want to make the work that big. Maybe you say, you know what? I just want to be top 10%. Well, now you only got to do what 90 or 89 people are not willing to do out of 100 versus 99. Can you put yourself in the top 10 of the process? Not top 10 of what you're telling yourself your talent is. Not top 10 of what you used to accomplish 10 years ago. Top 10 of what you want to accomplish right now. That means if 10 people are doing something, you got to be the 1 out of 10 that's willing to do something different in the process. Or you shrink it and say, I just want to be top 20%. Okay, now if there's 10 people doing something, you got to make sure that you're the 2 out of 10 that are taking the right path. And when you look at it that way, you understand how finite it is to attain the level of greatness that you want. But the exciting thing is it's so achievable, so attainable. It's just, you got to look at it and say, out of 10 people, I got to be the one that does the work consistently. I got to be the one that does, or out of the 10, I got to be one of the 2. And the other 8 people could take off Saturday, but I got to be one of the 2. And then once you get that mindset part down, then you got to put the work on paper and say, all right, here's what the process is going to require. This many days of work, this many hours, this many reps, this many meetings, this many role play sessions, whatever it is, and schedule it. On a week-to-week basis, have a schedule that already dictates where you'd like to put your time. And then it comes down to the person in the mirror. Am I willing to execute this? Then you just got to execute it. Now we roll ourselves into discipline's cousin is consistency, and consistency's cousin is discipline. And so now we go from, all right, we understand the glue or the bridge to that consistency is now discipline. Let me give you a picture of discipline and consistency. So let's say what I'm talking about is you got to be committed to the process 7 days a week. It doesn't mean you got to work 100 hours a week, 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. You got to be committed to the process of I for sure will get better. I'll do what most people are not willing to do 7 days a week. If you do it 7 days a week, and let's say somebody else does it 5 days a week, and the other 2 days they go backwards. They don't do anything to get better. Matter of fact, they do something to get worse. They took 5 steps forward. Now they took 2 steps backward. They got 3, and you went 7 days. You got 7 points. What's the difference in that? A 3 to a 7. Double, right? That's 100% increase. So the person that got focused for 2 more extra days increased their productivity and growth typically by 100%. I'm not saying you can't rest on one of those days, but you could still get better through your discipline of the way that you rest. Like there's something called active recovery. So sometimes, like let's say I have a Sunday where I'm not doing major heavy lifting work. I'm going to invest it into my family. I'm going to invest it into going to church, whatever. Those are the days where I'm trying to invest it into myself, where maybe I'll make sure I still get a book done, or I'm listening to some motivation, or I get up a little bit early and I plan my week out and I make sure that my meetings are on point for Monday. I still do something to get better more often than not. So if you look at yourself and you do that 7 days a week for a month, that's 28 points, right? And let's say somebody does the 5-2 dance. That's 3 points a week times 4 weeks. That's 12 points versus your 28 points. That means you got double out of it over just staying focused for 2 days. So what would take somebody, and it's more than double, and then that compounds. Right? So what takes somebody 3 years to obtain, you might be able to get that done in 1 year. What takes somebody typically 10 years to obtain, you might be able to get it done in 3 or 4 years if you're on this approach of it. Not to mention, some people, they don't just do the 5 minus 2. They already start Friday going backwards or not doing anything. So it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's 3 days. They go 4 forward, 3 backwards. They only get 1 positive. They're +1. You're +7. They're +4 at the end of the month. You're +28. That's 7x. So you'll see somebody that's in a business for 2 years and they accomplish more than somebody that's been there 10 years. You've seen this happen. Where you're training as a wrestler or as a boxer, as a grappler, and you see somebody that comes every day for 2 years straight, committed, locked in, and they're better than people that have been doing it for 10 years, 2-3 days a week. Or you're in a business situation and you watch somebody come in and within 2 years, they've built something bigger than somebody that's been there for 10 years. It's the exact principle that I'm explaining to you typically. That's called discipline and consistency. And the test of greatness and the hallmark of excellence we know is consistency. Even one more day done the right way and not blowing it will make a big difference. So, for example, let's say you're getting in shape and you hire a personal trainer. Out of 7 days a week, how many days do you think they're going to tell you you could have a cheat day? Probably 1 day. And even on that cheat day, they're not saying from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, just eat everything in sight. It may be more like, yeah, on that day, you can loosen up a little bit on the carbs, have some pancakes, treat yourself to one thing or, a couple things, but it's not like an all day event. Mayhem. Definitely ain't 2-3 days. Or if you just do it by meals, let's say you eat 6 times a day, 7 days a week, 42 meals, let's say 40 meals, and you got a personal trainer and you ask your trainer, how many times can I cheat? Out of 40 meals, how many meals can I have that are like cheat meals? They may say 3, 4. So that means out of 40, you got to have 36 good ones. 90% commitment. 90% discipline to the process. And it'll show. You know what I'm talking about. If you get super disciplined to an exercise regimen and a diet regimen, super disciplined for 60 days, like no cheating at all, you know what happens if you've done it. You know what your body looks like. You know what you feel like. Same goes with life. People will get blown away at what they could accomplish in a 6-month period if they just went all in with discipline and consistency. And then they had accountability to measure their progress of the process. That you have somebody that's holding you accountable. What is accountability? Answerable. To be answerable to somebody or something about what you cut out, what you said that you would do. Most of the time as an adult, a lot of the people that you have to hold you accountable are people that you pay. Like you'll pay a nutritionist, you'll pay a personal trainer. I got a friend of mine in his 40s, looks better at 41 than he did at 31. And he got a personal nutritionist, coach. And every week or two, he got to send him a picture of his body, of the progress. And I'm telling you, grown man, millionaire, he'll be coming up to me freaking out like, man, I cheated a couple days ago. Shouldn't have did that. I'm just going to starve myself tomorrow. I ain't going to eat nothing. I'm fasting because I got to take this picture and send it to him. That's beautiful. That's called accountability. But what's great about that is he sought somebody out and is paying the person to hold him accountable, to give him the answers and hold him accountable. Do you understand most of you have people for free that are coaching you to get better, that will hold you accountable? that you're not taking as serious as the person that's paying somebody to hold them accountable, and they don't even need to do that. The difference is this is a high-level person. This is the way you think. And so the way you think starts it all. When you hear accountability, what do you hear? Do you run from it? Do you know you need it? Have you given somebody in your life responsibility for accountability? Have you given somebody your approval of, hey, coach, boss, friend, mentor, I want you to know this is my goal. You have free reign to hold me accountable, and let's check in once a week or every 2 weeks. Let's check in on where I'm at with my progress to the measurables. And they know that they're down to hold you accountable. You got that feeling of like, oh crap, in 2 weeks, I know I got a week left. I know this person's going to hold me accountable. I got 3 days left. That's what you need in your life, is some accountability if you want consistency, because most people don't have the discipline without somebody holding them accountable to have the consistency that's necessary to take their life to the level that they want to go. Because anybody can have a great play, but can you be consistent through the whole game? Or can you be consistent, because anybody really, you can have a good game. Can you be consistent through a whole season? Like, you at least got to make it through a whole year, a whole season of consistency if you want a big contract in the major league sports. Like, you got to put together a season or two of consistent greatness if you're hoping for a second contract. But if you want to go to the next level, the Hall of Fame, like, there's a difference between, all right, I think people athletically can make it to a certain level of making it to the pros. You still got to have some discipline and consistency in your life, but that athleticism could get you to some places. So to make it to that level, a lot of people can get by on just their level of athleticism. But now to sign the second contract, when you get in, I'm just going to use NFL as an example. Second contract in NFL, you had to ball out for 3-4 years of consistency and say, all right, I earned a second contract, which is typically higher than the first contract. Now you start to have longevity. That consistency gets you paid. That consistency takes you to the next level. Now you go up to the next notch of like, all right, we're getting compensated for consistency. We're a real professional. We made it, because NFL stands for not for long. 3.5 years is the average tenure. You made it past that. You're on second contract. Great. That was discipline and consistency plus talent. But then you look at those folks, and then you got a whole nother level of the all pros and the people that'll be talked about or considered for Hall of Fame. And I've had an opportunity to be around Hall of Famers or potential Hall of Famers. And one thing that stands out to me is that they were all drafted in different rounds, or they're undrafted. It ain't like all the first round draft picks are the ones that go to the Hall of Fame. A lot of times the ones that go to the Hall of Fame were not the first one took. They were the 6th round draft pick, Tom Brady. They were the undrafted, J.J. Watt. Was he undrafted? I think he was undrafted. Or was he a walk-on in college? Undrafted, James Harrison. But the Hall of Famers, the people that are considered, talked about, a lot of times what I learned is their work ethic and their consistency is impeccable. Because to be in the Hall of Fame, it's not a 1-year deal. It's not a 1-game deal. It's not even a 2-year deal. This is like over a lifetime, over a 10-year span, over a 15-year run, over a 20-year run. What have you accomplished? Those people have discipline and consistency. And so if those of you are listening out there, you want to be Hall of Famers, you got to have discipline and you got to have consistency together. And some of that comes with you being okay with having people hold you accountable. The problem is some people, they don't want nobody to hold them accountable. And as soon as somebody starts holding them accountable, they complain and they're pushing back. The greats are welcoming accountability. And they're consistent in the process of the work that leads up to the result, not just the result. So remember, As we set out this week to be great, we set out this week to be consistent, because the hallmark of excellence and the test of greatness is consistency. Don't let consistency be what stops you this week. If this message helped you at all, if you know other people that it can help, we don't charge anything. We invest into this thing to help people out there. Can you do me a favor and just spread the word? Like, share, comment, share it with other people that we can impact, and make sure that you live your best life this upcoming week. Get on the grind and stay consistent. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the GRINDcast. Get ready. It's a new day.